I thank Melanie, who's a dear friend going back several decades, for the invitation and the honor of addressing you today, but also the opportunity to share a few reflections on my own journey, which has been a long one and also an arduous one, I might add. So in doing so, I acknowledge that while I stand here almost at the twilight of my own career, and many of you on the launchpad of your own, the trajectories we each follow are quite unique, as the testimony of the graduandi earlier on has illuminated. So I'm very happy to share a few of my own experiences and lessons, and I hope that they resonate with you. But before I do so, let me convey my warmest congratulations to those graduating with the PhDs today. And I think they deserve another round of applause. Now, getting the PhD is a mighty achievement, and reaching this milestone is very special. And only those, excuse me, who have, my mother always told me, don't drink ice water before you speak. So only those who have completed the journey or who are currently embarked upon it will fully understand the momentousness of the occasion. And it marks the high point of arrival and confers a license on the PhD graduate to practice as a recognized scholar. And each will deserve every bit of the newfound respect that you receive. And your voice will be heard with some reverence, and you must savor that. Your opinions will be solicited and valued in hitherto unimagined ways. You must savor that as well, and you must learn how to hold forth and to speak thoughtfully. So increasingly you'll be recognized as the go-to expert in your field, and maybe even the job offers will begin rolling in. And you must enjoy that because it's your moment of arrival. So looking back, while I do acknowledge that adversity and struggle may build character and fuel perseverance, it is often the largesse and generosity of others that makes the difference between whether you realize your full potential or not, whether you can take up an opportunity or not. And I was the first in my entire family to go to university, and you've heard other testimony of that too. And only the third of my generation from my rural community, depending on where you draw the boundaries of the community, of course. So I look back with enormous gratitude to a mother who valued education above all else, making sure that my needs were provided for as a priority before attending to the rest of the needs of the family. And my elder brother dropped out of school to earn a living and to support the family, and played an enormous role in funding my undergraduate studies. So local community members also pitched in to cover university fees and the cost of books when times were tough, and they never asked to be repaid as well. And when I completed my undergraduate studies and began earning a living, I was able to contribute to funding my younger brother through university. And when he completed his studies, he funded the one younger than him. And this is how 3 of my siblings were able to attain university degrees. So the road was not easy. Today, getting to and through university is the daily struggle of many of our youth, desperate to escape poverty. They bristle with potential, are hardworking and focused and hungry for success. And what I've learned from the experience is not to be captive to the past, nor to wallow in self-pity and victimhood, or to dwell on the woefulness of one's circumstances. Success and progress are determined by one's own personal drive, despite adversity and obstacles. And these are attributable to the amount of effort put in to rising above one's circumstances in utilizing opportunities that are abundant and available for those willing to make the journey. So they require receptiveness to the generosity and commitment of the many who are willing to support you along the journey. Now, my own career in academia started with my appointment as a junior lecturer at UCT, following the completion of my master's degree, and I began work in the field of academic development. So a few years later, I secured a position at UWC in the Academic Development Center, where I joined a team of several young scholars and practitioners who were equally new to the field. And importantly, this group came under the intellectual leadership and guidance of Professor Walker and Ms. Nasima Badsha, who were the key leaders in ADC at the time and at the institution. So as novice researchers without any track record and experience, Professor Walker especially played a critical role in inducting us into the rigors of scholarship, critiquing our work, providing opportunities for and guiding us to our first publications and our first international conference presentation, which was a real highlight at the time for a novice scholar, at the American Educational Research Association conference. I think it was in New York, if I remember correctly. I can't remember. So she was a great role model then of a dedicated, hardworking scholar, playing a spontaneous and dedicated, generous mentoring role to novice scholars, and as she clearly has continued to do so over her career. So I, together with many others, remain grateful and indebted to her and others of her caliber for their critical influences and guidance on our early careers. And an important lesson I learned from Melanie is to always make time to assist and mentor those who need it. So as you become more established and recognized as experts in your careers, I urge you not to lose sight of the inductive and mentoring role that's needed for the next generation of scholars. So after several years in the ADC, where I was supported to register for and complete my doctorate, I was all poised to advance more decisively in my career as a scholar with its completion. So I had barely handed in my thesis when I was approached by the DVC academic at the university, Professor Colin Bundy, to head up the academic planning unit there. So it was a time of great opportunity, and I learned a lot and developed tremendously in the role that was geared less towards scholarship and more towards executive management, policy and planning related issues. And after less than 3 years in it, I was offered a deanship at the then Technikon SA, which was incorporated into the UNISA of today after the mergers and restructuring that took place from 2000. So while these institutional positions led to great influence, recognition, and satisfaction in the work, and I was saying to Melanie on the bus, command of huge resources and capacities. And one of the most satisfying things about high office, as our colleagues here will tell you, is that you can make an impact on a massive scale, and that's ever more satisfying. Of course, any job at any level can be satisfying and fulfilling, but when you're able to make an impact with huge resources and capacities at your disposal, or that you influence, and university is more influence than control, remember that, that's ever more satisfying and fulfilling. So So while I did attempt throughout my career to try to publish at least one piece annually, this came at tremendous cost, slogging after hours, utilizing fragments of time, normally holidays, that I could dedicate to a particular project. And it comes at the cost of neglect of family as well. So the outputs are also eclectic when you do scholarship in that way. And responding to the issues of contemporary relevance and pressing challenges and problems, sometimes related to language education, at others to academic development, sometimes policy analysis, and yet others on internationalization or development issues. Now the drawback, and I say this as a bit of a warning to you, the drawback of such an eclectic approach is that like a rolling stone that gathers no moss, you ultimately find that your work does not develop the depth or gravitas which is required to be recognized in a particular field. So consequently, you don't garner the authority which is critical for peer recognition of your expertise in a particular field, even though you may attract recognition for your capabilities and intellect in other ways, and maybe even enjoy upward mobility because of that. It's a choice you make. So one of my early experiences as a dean was to manage the closure of a department. There are lots of tough things you have to do once you are high up. So remember that. And there was, so the department was not viable. And what I marveled at was the adeptness of the departmental leadership at playing the system. So they, for many years, they'd been producing one turnaround plan after another, every year to 18 months. And by the time I was appointed dean, I was given the job, close this department down. It's been a hot potato for years. So when I brought the department and the staffing and performance and so on under scrutiny, so I was made a solemn promise all over again it came to me and sat in front of me and promised solemnly to produce another plan in 6 months' time. And this time, definitely, they will get it right. But the point I wanted to make about this was what struck me was that the head of department basked in the glory of the title of doctor. And the title is very important, and people relate to you very differently once you carry the title, and listen to you differently, and accord you a different kind of respect. And that's why you must, it's hard-earned, it's well-deserved, and you must treasure and protect it. That's very important. But you can also very quickly lose credibility. When I undertook a review of the skills and capabilities in the department, I discovered that the HOD had not published one piece of work in 20 years, but was the one who actually strutted around insisting on being called doctor. And if you fail to call the person doctor, you would be admonished for it. So you'll discover that it's not enough to merely have the title, and that title can carry you for a while, but not far. The PhD provides a training to produce knowledge, and for the title to be worthy, the holder must demonstrably be a knowledge producer. And the better the quality and consistency of your work in the future, the greater the number of opportunities that will arise for you to reach ever loftier heights, to utilize your expertise and knowledge, to attain accolades, to build a reputation locally and globally, and to enjoy the rewards of a successful and fulfilling career. Moreover, an object lesson in this experience is one of academic integrity. If you work at a university, you will enjoy enormous freedom and independence. And your obligation is to value the freedom and to do what is necessary to fulfill your responsibilities. And the quality, therefore, that you put in while no one is observing, that matters the most. Not the number of hours that you are present in the office. So if you're good at what you do, your reputation will precede you, and the jobs will come looking for you, as I've experienced. And I also advise not to job hop. Do the job you have well, and the next one will come looking for you. Recognition comes from having strong networks and building a reputation for rigor, for thoughtfulness, depth, and quality in your work. So it's vitally important to subject your work to scrutiny. So call on critical friends from your network, and your first network is right here. If you let the flaws in your work be exposed for the first time on a public platform, the damage is most often irreversible. So the value of critical and honest, unadulterated feedback cannot be overestimated. So being open to and responding to critical feedback, unpalatable as it may be, will do more for your development and advancement than years of learning and persistence on your own. So there are many other lessons I can share with you, but time does not permit me. But allow me to reflect briefly on a few. So confidence comes from thorough preparation and careful crafting of what it is that you want to convey. And be alert for leaders and peers who stand out and are worthy of emulating. Watch them closely, learn how they lead, influence, and relate to people. Observe how they conduct themselves, how they respond to different situations, how they communicate, how they deal with conflictual situations, how they empower others, and what their work habits in particular are. Study how people respond to them and figure out why. Seek their counsel and listen carefully to their advice. There is an enormous amount to be learned from the good example of such exemplary scholars. So it is very important to know when you should speak and when you should remain silent. There is much pressure on you to be vocal, especially when you are now a recognized expert or a fledgling expert. But speak only when you have thought something through and have something valuable or useful to say. Your reputation will be built through the quality and the depth of your work, not the vocalness of your politicking. So stay above or outside these for your own peace of mind. That's something I'd like to share with you. So you can have good capabilities, but your reputation can be tarnished by your being perceived as a local gossip or as a political operator. No one respects people like that. They may use you, they need you, but they wouldn't respect you. And they certainly wouldn't vouch for you. In fact, people want to distance themselves from you once you have that kind of reputation. One of the best leaders I've worked under, Professor Bani Pitjana, who was Vice Chancellor at UNISA. And the key lesson I wanted to share with you is that he taught me not to be threatened by someone who is better than you. In leadership, recruiting the best and the most capable will serve you and the organization far better than finding only people you are comfortable with, not threatened by, who are meek or who are not likely to be critical of you. So be mindful that you will build your reputation on the quality of your work and your contributions. So most leaders know that you could not have learned or contributed much in a role if you've spent only a year or two in it. And I've learned over many years in my various roles not to shortlist anyone that has a CV reflecting a series of jobs of short duration. And there have been many promising candidates that I have not shortlisted because of this in dozens of appointments and often at very senior levels. You will experience that the only constant is change. So the world is ever changing, technology is changing the world, and several commentators have dubbed the period we are living through as the fourth industrial revolution. And each of us needs to be well read in and alert to how things are changing and what is driving the change. Only in this way will you be able to identify new opportunities and challenges, as well as the new skills and capabilities which will be required long before they become common knowledge. For by then it will be too late to be of any advantage to you. Universities too are changing. They are not the exclusive place or institution where knowledge is being generated nor the only avenue through which it is being disseminated, or where skills and capacities are developed. So evolving technology will provide innovative ways in which we will be able to do even more sophisticated research and analyses, gather and mine hitherto unimagined amounts of data, and disseminate the knowledge we produce globally. It is also important to give thought to how the knowledge you produce is made available publicly. There are ethical and political choices about this, and the central dilemma being whether knowledge produced and funded by the public purse is placed behind the paywall of a commercial publisher, whether it is available freely in an open journal or through Creative Commons licensing. I tried to download an article about a month or two ago, published by a colleague at one of the public universities, funded by the university and by the NRF. I would have had to have paid 5,000 rands to download that article. That's how ridiculous it is. To write a paper on your own, and if you consult about 40 to 50 sources, can cost you over 200,000 rand just to get the materials. And I think that's scandalous. So it's something you have to give thought to. You'll have approaches from Springer and from Francis and Taylor and so on to publish your books with them. But it gets behind a paywall. You have to buy a book that was published by a colleague at Stellenbosch University. It costs 3,000 rand for the book. It's ridiculous, especially if it's a new publication. So these are considerations for each and everyone who's a knowledge producer. So finally, I hope that after a rewarding and illustrious career, your aspirations and your dreams are fulfilled. And you look back on your working life as having been a force for good, for greater social justice, for a more equitable society overall, and that some of the intractable challenges of our time were addressed through your own knowledge contributions. I thank you.